The purpose of this video is to explain what multi-batch management is and to show you how to use it. To do this, we'll cover the following topics. What is multi-batch management? How to set up build and process IDs so that you can successfully automate invoice selection. How to set up named printers to automate your printer selection. How to configure posting reports so that they won't interfere with multi-batch management's automation of the payment processes. Setup options specific to multi-batch management, and how to use the multi-batch management action board to build, process, and post your batches. Lastly, this video does assume that you're already set up and successfully printing checks and generating EFTs with Mekorma Maker. What is multi-batch management? With standard Microsoft Dynamics GP, first, you build one payment batch from the Select Checks window. Then, you print checks and process EFTs from the Print Checks window for that single batch. And finally, you post that individual batch from a third window. Multi-batch management combines these three windows into a single action board. Besides giving you one central location where you can complete the whole payment process, the real strength of multi-batch management is that it allows you to build multiple batches from different checkbooks, even if they're from different companies, all at one time. You can then use the multi-batch management action board to print checks and generate EFTs for all the batches that you've built in one single operation. And finally, you can post all the batches that you've just printed once more in a single operation. What is a build ID? A build ID allows you to save your invoice selection criteria so you don't have to recreate it each time you build payment batches. To save the build criteria, multi-batch management uses a screen based on the Select Checks window. If we look at both the Select Checks and Build Maintenance windows side by side, we can see the similarities. However, there are a few differences. Each of these differences stems from the fact that the selection criteria entered into the Build Maintenance window will be saved so it can be available to be applied repeatedly to different checkbooks across companies over time. For example, Batch ID has been changed to Build ID. That's because this criteria will be used to build a number of batches over time. There's no checkbook or currency ID in the Build Maintenance window because your criteria won't just be limited to one checkbook, but can be applied to many checkbooks and companies. By the same token, the Build Batch button has been replaced by the Save button, because instead of simply building a batch, you're saving criteria to be used again and again. The Print, Edit Check Batch, and Edit Check buttons have also been removed as a result of multi-batch management's automation of the build, print, and post processes. The Select Voucher by Vendor Checkbook ID and Select Voucher by Voucher Checkbook ID checkboxes have been consolidated onto this window as well. These allow you to use the Assign by Checkbook feature of Mekorma Maker, adding that criteria to your build. And lastly, all date fields have been changed to accept relative dates. This includes the apply date and the due and discount dates. The date offset code window allows you to set a due or discount date based on relative criteria. You can choose to either time your payment for a number of days from your user date or for the end of every month. For this video's example, I'm going to create two build IDs. One designed to pay any rent or utilities invoices in the system, and a second build designed to pay any other invoices that are due within 10 calendar days of the user date. To create a new build, first open the Build Maintenance window. And then type in the name of your new build. Now, my rent and utilities vendors have already been assigned to a class ID that I created called Rent and Utilities. So, I'll select the class ID as my criteria, choose Rent/Util class, and enter that filter. Since that's the only filter I'm including in this build, I can now save this build to later be applied to checkbooks. For the second build, I want to include all non-rent and utilities invoices due within 10 days of the user date. So I'll call this build Due 10. Select the due date cutoff as my criteria, and open the date offset window from earlier by clicking on this blue arrow. Then I'll enter 10 days as my offset value, and click OK. Then I'll insert that filter and save this build ID. Now, I'll show you how to combine these two IDs so they can be applied across multiple companies in a single process. To set up your process, go to the Process Maintenance window. Then, type in the name of your new process. In this case, I'll title it EOW, as it will be the plan that I run at the end of every week to pay any outstanding rent or utilities fees, as well as any other outstanding invoices that meet the build criteria that I choose to apply. From this initial window, you can choose a company, a checkbook, and a build whose criteria you want to apply. Then press Insert. In this example, though, we're going to apply multiple builds to multiple checkbooks and companies, so it will be more efficient to use the Advanced button. From here, I'll select the rent and utilities checkbooks from the other two companies by using the Control-Click shortcut, choose to generate checks and EFTs, and then apply the rent and utilities build criteria to those checkbooks and payment types. I'll then choose to generate checks and EFTs from the operating checkbook in all three companies, and then apply the due date criteria to those checkbooks and payment types. So as you can see, in this example I've applied the rent and utilities build to 3 different checkbooks in 3 different companies, and the due 10 build to 3 other checkbooks in 3 different companies, all to be applied simultaneously in one single process. Now, simply save your process and close this window. Now that the process is automated, there are a couple more steps I need to take before moving on to building batches. The first of those steps is to set up named printers for Mekorma Micker. This will tell the system which printers to use to print checks, so printer selection won't interrupt the automated processes of multi-batch management. To do this, first open the Named Printers window. Once inside, select Third Party for Task Series. Then, you must select a printer class and printer ID for each report that you want to print during the payment process. A printer class will specify how you want to organize your printer assignments. And from each printer class, you can choose the appropriate printer ID. Again, only the Micker reports that you actually want to print must have a printer ID selected. Once each of the necessary tasks is assigned to a printer, press OK. If you need more information on setting up named printers, please consult Microsoft Dynamics GP documentation. The final step that we need to take before we're ready to build batches is to set up posting reports so that they don't interfere with multi-batch management's automated processes. To do this, first open the Posting Setup window. Once inside, set the series to Purchasing and the origin to Computer Checks. Then, make sure that each posting report that you want generated is assigned to either a printer or a file, not to a monitor or to prompt a query. So now that the automation of the payment process is set up and ready to go, we'll quickly cover a few setup options that can help you customize multi-batch management to further meet your needs. To access multi-batch management setup options, first open the Multi-Batch Management Setup window. Now the first thing you'll notice is that here you can exclude any companies from these 3 processes, and you can also engage SafePay integration. But if you click the Options button, you're given even more setup options. And by the way, each user can save separate options configurations that are specific to their needs. From this window, you can choose to have an approval request based on your security setup preferences sent out after each batch is built. Please note that if you use this feature, approval will need to be provided in each company before checks can be printed. Additionally, you can choose to generate edit lists upon payment, as well as where to send those edit lists. There are also check and EFT processing options in this window. The print and email document checkbox is the same as the standard GP features. There are also the Post EFT immediately after printer send and the Generate EFT after posting checkboxes, which if not checked will cause multi-batch management to process EFTs but not to post them. So if those checkboxes aren't checked, you'll have to go somewhere else to generate EFTs in each company. You can also choose how to sort your checks from this window. If you'd like to use a default value from the Payables Management Setup window, then choose Native Great Plains Order. You can check this box if you'd like reports to be emailed to you instead of being generated and displayed during the process. Additionally, you can check this box if you'd like multi-batch management's automated processes to be displayed instead of having them run in the background, as is standard. And finally, you can check this box to hide multi-batch management's progress window. Our final step is to build, process, and post your batches using the multi-batch management action board. This step is especially important as the action board is the only window that users will actually need to access regularly to enact the payment process after multi-batch management is set up. When you open the action board, the first action that will automatically be selected is to build payment batches. From here, look up the process ID that you just set up. Upon selecting a process, the system will verify that all checkbooks in this process are set up and will show error messages if they're not. In this case, there are no error messages because both the checkbooks included in my process are set up. Once you confirm that all the checkbooks in your process are set up, click Process. During the process, you'll always see the company login window as multi-batch management changes through companies. Other windows and the progress bar can be hidden or shown in the Setup Options window, which was covered in the previous section of this video. Additionally, while multi-batch management is running through its process, the rest of the system outside of Dynamics is free for me to take care of other tasks. Once the system has finished building your payment batches for you, you can view the results of the build process in the Build Process report. As you can see, these were the only payments that met the criteria in my builds. In other words, since no transactions were found to meet the build criteria I applied in these batches, they will not be built. You can then move on to the process action, and multi-batch management will automatically display batches that have been built and are ready to be processed. From here, mark all the payment batches that you want to process, and click Process. Before the process action actually begins, though, you'll be prompted to log into Outlook to enable the system to email EFT remittances. The system will then go on to print checks and generate EFTs across companies and checkbooks. When the system is finished processing your payment batches for you, you'll have the option to view a report. Finally, select the Post step in the Action menu, mark the batches that you want to post, and click Process. And once your payment batches have been posted, you can again view a report showing the final results of posting. And that's how you set up and use Mekorma multi-batch management. We hope this video has been helpful, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.